Yeah. Yeah, while you're doing that, we're kind of doing the same thing. So once we kind of start to get the repeater sites up, I've got like an MFJ telescoping mast, and we're going to put an omnidirectional antenna on it and a Rocket M5, so we can move it around the county and just see what we can hear in places. Right. So if some ham is contemplating but it's not sure, we can go, set that thing up. It goes up to 19 feet or something. Put it in their backyard and just see what we can hear or not hear.
I might suggest a little tweak on that. I've been doing a little bit of reading, looking at bandwidth issues with the MCS levels and stuff. And those are dependent on using both horizontal and vertical polarization. So that's two different antennas. So you might want to consider like a nanostation or a nanostation loco, because it has both of those in there as well. And that will give you the additional encoding that it can do, which would be better bandwidth than just a straight omni. I mean, those are both 45-degree, beam width. So, I mean, it's a grand total of this much angle as opposed to your sector. But at least you'd be able to see, if you put a sector up there with both, what kind of bandwidth you might actually get. So that's why I'm using those two, just to go point to point.
Perfect.
Yeah, and they're cheap too. I think I bought mine for $85 right now off Amazon. Yeah. Actually, I bought them from Ubiquity. Sorry.
Has anybody tried doing a WinLink peer-to-peer over AREDN? A couple of us have tried it, and it works pretty well. You got to know the IP address or a host name, but it runs pretty well, pretty fast.
I would like to see if I can set up. I think it's a BQS node, so an actual post office. Right. I've got a static IP, so I can then port forward that in from the actual, and then of course if I set that up, then in theory it's a post office that people can hit and use as a route to get out, as a gateway. I mean, it'd be an internet-based path as opposed to RF, but if you're on the mesh already, that certainly helps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing I did, and I haven't documented this anywhere, is I set up on the Raspberry Pi I use for the phone switch as an NTP server. Since you can't always get out, and since I'm looking at our backbone links and stuff like that, we can point. I set up an alias as ntp.local.mesh, and that'll sync you with mine, which is synced out. So for things that you're doing that don't have an internet presence, you can put that in instead of the pool 0 dot blah, 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 whatever that you probably can't get to.
Right. Yeah, I've been playing around with Nextcloud a little bit. I've got a Raspberry Pi running in Nextcloud for file sharing. I don't have it consistently stable the way I want it. Probably going to blow it up and rebuild it, but I think it's promising, to be able to, particularly, to move traffic between, different served agencies who doesn't want to share openly their stuff, right? You can have those secure folders that can drop stuff into and limit access to.
So a couple other things I'll show real quick. There's a program called Mesh Map, I think, or Mesh View, something like that. And so this actually shows some of our connections here in Missouri. And this is actually on our segment. So Jefferson City and Columbia are linked. We've got several out in KC, which would be, I wanted the wide Missouri. So our segment, we have one node like up in Iowa somewhere, and then everything else is northeast. But all of our currently VPN connections here in St. Louis are here. We've got a couple other ones, and then we've got the set out here off of the Kansas City section. So, I mean, I've got 2 or 3 of them here in 0WL, I think it is. This is Kyle. I think this is some of you guys down there that are currently VPN'd.
Right.
I mean, altogether, you know, we've got a nice little mesh. We've got 154 nodes, I think I saw on it. And of course, you know, they're building up quite a few of them out in Kansas City. Let me close a couple of these windows. There's just getting to be way too many of them open here. And if we go look at, where's the Northeast? Here we go. This is our connection into New Jersey. That's where I'm VPN'd into. And then they've got, you know, these other nodes hanging on our segment as well. And then we've got one up in, you can't see it, but it's off that direction. It's in the Netherlands. And there's another one linked to Australia or New Zealand, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's our whole segment. And if you go take a look at Europe, I mean, and this is just kind of the global site that I got from AREDN Mesh, their overall view. You know, there's a lot of nodes there, but the US is crazy. And taking a look at the spread out version of St. Louis, by the way, that's kind of almost exactly matches the kind of stuff we're already looking at. The US map, that's a lot of nodes. And you notice there are a lot of them East Coast and a whole stripe up and down the West Coast. Hawaii has a bunch of them. There's even some in Alaska. Most of them are 2.4 gigahertz, so they're probably HAPS and similar like that. Another thing I pulled up is Southern California. That's kind of their stuff, basically from, I think San Francisco is up around here, but you know, down in the Long Beach area, I mean, it's just they've got a lot. And what they're doing is they're running 5 gig, or it was 3 gig backbones, you know, mountain to mountain around the area. And most of the people were using 2 gigahertz to access those point to point. So the 3 gigs are their backbone from mountain to mountain. And then they've got a 2 gig node that you can hit from the lower points that you can see. And I've got several pictures about this that can zoom in. So, you know, like if you're looking at, you know, closer into Long Beach, you can see all these RF connections that they've got, you know, popping from, you know, clearly that's up on top of one of the hills. I've got like San Francisco, they've got a bunch of them across the bay. And if you've been to San Francisco, you know just how hilly that is too. So that's an interesting feat to be able to just even pull that off.
But it's good if you can be on top of one of those ridges though, right?
Absolutely. And that's what I wish we had some here. There's another whole cluster here, San Luis Obispo. Santa Barbara has a few nodes, you know, going around their area. I'm not sure they're linked into too many places. But I mean, it's interesting just to kind of go browse around and see some of what they had. Yeah, so if I pull the zoom out wider, this was all I saw there. Believe it or not, there's a bunch of stuff in Phoenix. Oregon has a whole bunch of them there. I mean, you know, that's almost the entire state, north to south. And I mean, you can see it's just huge around Portland. But they're encompassing quite a wide area there. Phoenix, not quite as big, but you know, I mean, that's a bit of a stretch there considering the size of the place. I mean, that's clearly, you know, a mountaintop. So we're separated from them, but it's still I think that's all the map stuff I was able to find. Let's see. What else is it that I was going to cover and didn't? Oh yeah, I wanted to show you just Harn. No, nothing else other than the 8.5 repeaters. Where's the mega mesh? There it is. That is 100% hospitals and the main backbones that we were going to set up between the different areas. That's a lot. And if I do the same thing that is just hams, that's a lot less. And these red arrows are the ones that have to have a hospital connection to be able to link in. And then here's the two guys that I can't get a connection for. Oh yeah, I was talking about that 80-meter tower, or I'm sorry, 80-foot tower. You can see these are the only valid links we can get from it. We've basically got 4 of them here. And those are somewhat questionable, you know, back to St. Louis. All this over here is just people with the nodes at their house or top of a hospital. And these are only 3 or 4 stories up at best. If I go up to the 180-foot tower, as you can see, we gain a few more links there. I still got nothing. The O'Fallon CERT site still has nothing. We still don't have great connectivity. That's why I'm looking at, you know, if we could get up on HSI, I think we'd be better off. Is there anything else you guys are interested in seeing specifically?
Just a quick question for you, Mark. Again, this is Art.
Yeah.
Just a quick question before we run out of time again. Is there any direction that we as individuals should be taking at this point to try and get ready or move forward or help?
At this point, I'm basically waiting on funding from SLSRC for our 2
Okay.
repeater sites.
Okay.
We could certainly, when we get to it, use some help getting some stuff up. We need to pull a pole up. Basically 8 flights of the building. You can maybe get 7 if you can go up the elevator. But since we need about a 20-foot pole,
Ooh.
I don't think we're going to fit that in the elevator.
No.
So we're debating whether we're going to pull it up through the stairwell. But then when we get up to the top of that stairwell, we've got a little angle that we can cut through to the door if
Okay.
we can space it right.
Okay.
And then basically we'll pull it in, back it out onto the roof, and then
Up.
go lift it there.
Yeah.
So when we do that, we're going to have a lot of stuff to do. We found that they had 2 holes that they cut through the exterior of the building, and there's a wad of paper towel basically blocking it shut. There's nothing going through it. So, I mean, it's not like it's really a fire risk, but since it's already there, we think we should be able to just fish an Ethernet line through it. And that pulls us out literally, you know, an arm width from where that pole is, you know, maybe
Fantastic.
double that. So, I mean, it's pretty close. The drawback is there's some power conduit running up in AT&T's cage on the other side of that wall where that hole is.
Whoa.
But essentially we're looking at that hole being literally this far in past the fence.
Okay.
And the fence is unlocked, so you could get in there. And, you know, better to ask, you know, forgiveness than permission sometimes. But we've already got stuff running through that wall higher up. As long as it's attached well and it really isn't interfering with their stuff, we might be okay doing that. And I think, I don't know if Zach was going to talk to somebody there. I don't think so. I think it was going to be Brian or Brendan
Okay.
to see, you know, some of what we can do there if they've got any concerns about it. Our lease up there is we have zero cost to lease using that. Part of it is for us to be looking at the sites on the outside of the building to identify obsolete antennas, obsolete hardware, things that can be cleaned up there. We have internet at that site, so we've got the ability to basically get out to the internet from there. So it could be a potential site for gateways. You know, again, you know, we can do things at our houses and stuff like that. They just may not have as much reliability. Again, it just depends.
Okay, great. Thanks.
But
I
that's
would
why I
like
think we've
very
got a
much-
good chance to do that. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I just would like to say I would like very much to help with that.
Sure.
With that. If you need hands on that, let me know, because I really want to be a part of the build out on this. I think it's something I'm kind of looking forward to. If I can get in on the deployment, that'd be cool.
Mhm.
It's something I want to do.
So I have the M5 rocket and a 90-degree sector here at my house. I need to flash it basically with, you know, the correct stuff now. And Kyle Krieg, who is the engineering chair for SLSRC, bought, I want to say 5 NanoStation Loco 5s. So we've got those, but they're only 13 dBi, so they're not terribly great. But he doesn't remember what the password is on those, so I'm going to reflash those. And I think we'll probably end up using those for mobile type events. So like for Winterfest, when I was putting the projections up on the wall with all that stuff, using regular Wi-Fi, it was so congested, it kept dropping connections. But if I put that on, you know, a variety of mesh nodes pointing around the facility, I think we'll be far, far more stable. So someday I'll get back to doing that.
Yeah. Are you guys getting any of the Ubiquity surge protectors to?
I bought
protect
2
your
for
IP?
myself.
Yeah.
I think we're going to talk about it at the board meeting, but I mean, they're like $13. It's worth it.
Yeah. We've acquired 30 of them for our stuff. We don't have enough for all of them yet, but.
Jim, explain more about what that is. Is that an Ethernet surge suppressor or?
Yeah, but it's actually for this outdoor stuff, and it's
Okay.
it basically every radio requires 2, one next to the radio and then one at the point of entry into the building. I mean, if a lightning strike hits, it's probably going to take out the radio anyway, but it's just trying to keep it, I guess, from getting into the building and to the other stuff, right? The switches and everything else.
And if it pops that $13 device, maybe your radio will still be okay if it hits the line in between.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Hopefully.
if I had 3 nanos in a 360-degree hanging 30 or 40 feet up a tree, how many of those do I need?
6.
Well, not necessarily. If you have 2 ports on it, I would just daisy chain the 3 there because they're physically so close to each other.
Yeah.
It's negligible. You might put one in between each node just as a potential fail safe if it gets one but not the others. But you'll want one on beginning of your Ethernet coming down and one coming into your house.
Okay, so I'd have to have the 3 nanos up there along with one of those boxes, right? 30
At
feet up the
least.
tree.
Yeah.
Okay. And
So
then
if you put like a spacer in between them, you know, like a piece of plywood, you know, little triangle of plywood or something, just mount it to that. And you can daisy chain around. And as long as you have enough power, I bought the 1.5 amp PoE injector, which would handle all 3 of those.
Right.
So that way you'd be able to power it from inside the house and just run your one Ethernet up to hit all 3. And they'll DTD link back and forth.
And now, I was just going to mount those 3 to a pipe though, like a plastic pipe, because they wrap around the, you know. Okay.
Now, another thing I did down here is I plugged in 2 of those HAP devices into one NSM5.
Oh.
And all three of those DTD linked to each other. On the VPN device, you have to put those on port 5 or they don't link.
Right.
So when I did that, literally the two HAP devices, even though they weren't physically plugged into each other, could see each other as neighbors, which kind of surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, my HAPs will see each other as neighbors, but not necessarily through the nanos. Because they're being neighbors on the 2.2 gigahertz versus a 5 gigahertz link.
Yeah, but I'm not doing RF on those.
Oh, okay.
That's, I mean, I plugged port 5 of the HAP into main on my nano station,
Right.
and then secondary went to the other HAP, and those two HAPs both showed as neighbors across the Ethernet wire.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I was just going to daisy chain the 3 nanos together.
Yep, and you'll get that same effect into your VPN device.
Right. So I guess that the nano stations, I don't have any nano stations, so I guess they have the ability to daisy chain.
Yes.
The only way I could daisy chain the rockets would be, with the switch, right?
I think so, because they only have one port.
They only have one port, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I would, if I had three sectors, I need 6 with the rockets, right? Because I don't have the ability to really daisy chain them.
Right. And so, with that, it might be nice to block between them in case it hit one but not the others. But the reality is, if it's one, it's so close to the others, it's effectively a direct hit anyway.
Right.
Yeah. And I got mine there for like $90 down at Micro Center. Of course, I took the last 2 out of their inventory, so I don't know when they're getting more in. But
the nano stations, gotcha.
The nanos, yeah.
I actually just bought it online at Ubiquity. I had it in 2 days.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to look for these. What'd you call them, Jim? An isolator or?
Yeah, they're called the they're a surge protector, but the model number from Ubiquity is an ETH-SP-G2. It's the latest version.
Okay.
And I ordered those straight from Ubiquity. They were like $13.
Okay.
And a side note, the M5s are sold out at Ubiquity, but Amazon has a bunch of them, and I think those are the correct generation, because the new versions of the M5 rockets apparently aren't supported well by AREDN.
Oh.
Yeah, I ordered the 18 we got. I ordered them, and they out of Spain, so they're the EU version. I talked to the AREDN guys. They say it's the same version. The only difference is the power cord, and we're doing power over Ethernet anyway. So yeah. So yeah.
Well, maybe that's why I'm having trouble trying to flash my 2 that I just got from Micro Center, because one of them I got flashed, but I can't get it configured correctly. So, but it's there. All right, I'll play.
I struggled with mine quite a bit.
Yeah, these things aren't easy to flash the first couple of times. After that, you get pretty good at it. But then if you don't do it for a while, you got to relearn it.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I find the micro ticks are flash one way. The
Ubiquity
rockets flash a completely different way, and it can be a bit of a challenge.
Well, but the Ubiquities are also tied to a specific IP period.
Yes.
So
the microticks at least will, just hit up on your network and you just find out what that is, and then you can talk to it.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll find that with the Ubiquity rockets, it's easier to flash them with an old version of Internet Explorer versus Edge or something, or Chrome will work as well, but because of the security features they put in.
Yeah, we got 10 minutes left, just as a point of reference.
Okay.
Hey, Mark, side question about the 8.5 site. That pole height, 20 feet, that's the height that we needed to put all 3 on the same corner of the building we were looking at, right?
I believe so.
Okay. I know that
I'm not sure we want to do that though, because that big dish, that would block eastern from that point. So we could hit north to southeast from that pole, but we would need to go over near the 8.5 antenna to cover eastern.
Yeah, and I think one of the questions that we looked, but we were more concentrating on the field day deployment was building penetration on that side, but we could, in theory, just run the Ethernet around the outside of the penthouse, right?
If we had to, but I think if we could get that to feed through that hole that's blocked with the paper towel, I think that would be a much better path.
No, I was thinking about from over by the 8.5 antenna. If we put one over there, and those holes are sealed, that stuff isn't usually easy to chip out.
It's
running
not,
it around.
that's rubber
Okay.
gasket.
Okay.
There's a whole bunch of cable passed through there. So I don't think that's going to be a problem there. One other thing I wanted to mention, I saw a post on the AREDN stuff that right now on those HAP devices, in order to flash or to update those, you have to bring down all your VPN links, which is really bad in terms of trying to update like a repeater site remotely. I mean, obviously there you've got RF and that's good, but if you're doing something that is a VPN site, so for our case, that would be like the 8.5 repeater site where we've got one sitting. They have come out in a recent month or nightly build that it no longer has to shut down your VPN links to update. It will just do it and then start the links up after it's restored. I don't know when that's going to hit a release version, but it's coming. So you might want to watch for that if you're running stuff remotely, especially if you want to VPN into it from somewhere. So yeah, lots of stuff we're covering. I'm going to talk to the board about this. You know, we had a conversation with Brendan. He's already expecting it. We're just going to try and figure out, you know, what budget we might have, where we can pull from. Do we have enough funds to do that? And that's the timing that we're looking at. So once I know something, I'll post it back on the mailing list, so that you guys know, yes, we are actively working on trying to get, you know, links down to the southwest and southeast. I don't, like I said, I hate to sort of prioritize our field day link, but this will at least let us be able to get some publicity for people and get that political support behind what we're looking to spend. And we'll have to replace that 90-degree sector antenna with 120 later on anyway. But this will at least let us, you know, get the rest of the board saying, yeah, this is working. This is cool stuff. Yeah, here's the purse strings. You can buy the other $700 some that we need to physically get mounted.
Yeah,
and then we can go start saying, hey, let's plug it in.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny, right? You know, there's a lot of people that in Franklin County that seem to be interested, but they want to know, is it going to work first, right? And
I appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly. And when we were doing our presentations at each of the clubs, I brought 2 nodes and 2 phones, right? Because I'm running a PBX here out of the house, and I was able to demonstrate, you know, with the 2 nodes in the room. One node was connected to my phone's hotspot, so it was beeping in back to the house, but we were able to demonstrate in the room the ability with the phones, and we've got several people with phones connected to the mesh right now, and that goes a long way in helping people to kind of see and understand the concept and what it can do. And after that, as you can see in Franklin County, we've got a bunch of people ran out and bought the little microtech nodes, and so at least we've starting to get some of that footprint up.
And again, I'm happy to, you know, plug in addresses and check to see what the connection looks like, you know, to help them figure out how high they need to be, you know, which direction to point, all that kind of stuff too. happy to do that since I've got this, configured and working. So
Yeah, and that's a lot of work you've done. Thank goodness you figured it out. Sometimes looking at that thing,
I'm
it's
still
like,
learning.
yeah, it's like where to start, right? It can be a bit complicated.
Hey, Mark, would using the trailer, the tower trailer help with the field day? If we put the nodes on top?
Maybe, but we're only about 2 miles away. So I
Okay.
really don't think it's that big a deal. I'm going to bring a painter's pole, and I'm building a thing to put up, and it'll go about 16 feet up. And this way I can just put it somewhere away from the other antennas.
Okay.
And I'll just bring some Ethernet to do it. I think it'll be fine.
Yep. Okay.
So we're about to time out. Is there any other questions anybody that's on here has? I know I've done a lot of talking. I don't want to cut anybody off. And if we need to, I'll restart another session.
Any questions I had, you answered like in the first 15 minutes. So
What hospitals do you have in Illinois?
Let's see, the ones that I had in Illinois. Let me get that other.
I'm going to cut out, guys. Thanks a lot, Mark. I appreciate
Sure.
all the help so far.
I have Gateway Regional Medical Center, Anderson Hospital, St. Elizabeth's in O'Fallon, Memorial in Belleville, and there's another Memorial,
Yeah,
Metro
Memorial's
East or something like that.
It's right across the street from St. Elizabeth, basically.
It doesn't look like it's right across the street, but
Well, there's one in Belleville and there's one right up by I-64 by Scott Air Force Base. So are they
Yeah.
active right now?
oh, no, I'm just proposing if Harn were to build out, this is what it would do.
Okay.
Touchette in what do you call it? East St. Louis at each end. St. Anthony's up in Alton, and BJC's Alton Memorial. I can't think of any others offhand in the area. For some reason, they're kind of spread out. But that's what I've got at this point. And now that I've got the 1080p images, and I'm going to put those in the presentation, I'll end up posting that somewhere, and you guys will have a link. You can go browse it.
That'd be nice.
In fact, I'm going to update it, the one that I did for the ECA, and it'll be on their website. Thanks,
Do you
Zach.
have any active sites in Illinois right now?
I don't know.
I know Dale was, I think he got the VPN connection. He's not far from the save site with the GXU repeater. By the way, the GXU repeater is at the save site on the side of a building on a tower, not a water tower.
Yep, that matches what we found out. So certainly a good thing.
Okay, nice work you guys did. Appreciate that.
We got a long way to go. I'm just hoping that we can keep making progress here. As you
Long
can see
journey
here,
starts-
Christian Northwest has like no connectivity, so I'm kind of concerned about some of the sites being able to physically connect. But
How about St. Anthony's down in South County, the old St. Anthony's?
yeah, that's this one right here.
Okay, then the VA would be a good one, because if you can get the VA, you can go across the river to Waterloo, then you could hit your hospital down south also.
Yep. I'm not this link doesn't seem to work because of connectivity, but yeah, there's lots of places that works. And